Let me hear that beat, man.
Hi guys, what's up? This is Nia Maria, and today I'm going to be doing Paris Milan's Dark Skin Challenge. If you haven't heard about Paris Milan or like the challenge at all, then honestly it's like, what's up? Why not? Who are you? What are you doing with your life? It's like, but then otherwise I'm gonna be leaving her information below, so feel free to check out her content. It's so good, like definitely check it out. But yeah, let me get straight into it. I don't want this video to be like 10,000 years long. So I'm going to start by talking about my experience as a brown skin / dark skin girl growing up in the United States, Denver, Colorado to be specific. If you haven't visited yet from the weed tourism and all that stuff, then you probably don't know too much about it. So you wouldn't know that this is like a really diverse community. I grew up with like a lot of Hispanic children and like Mexicans because we're so close to the border. Grew up with mixed kids, white kids of course, like black, African kids. It's like a real melting pot. And growing up, I never actually noticed colorism to a huge extent. Like hindsight, I'm looking back at it and I would be able to see that like the Hispanic girls, because like most of the black community in the Hispanic community, like the Mexican community, we hung out with each other, and most of the like Hispanic girls and the mixed chicks, of course, like they were like the girls every guy wanted to tag and booty tag and like all that other stuff, but it didn't bother me like to least like whatever. I think like the only real traumatizing part about being like a darker skinned girl as a child was going out into the pool. Like sometimes, specifically once I started maturing, I would just be like, I don't want to go out because as a brown skinned girl, like I know that I'm gonna go like 3 shades darker and like it's that shiny black, and every little kid had their freaking jokes about it. But you know, we were kids, so I try not to like stress it too much. Plus I grew up with like pretty woke parents. My mom and my dad would not let us play with white Barbie dolls, because, especially not like blonde white Barbie dolls, because they would just explain how it doesn't look like us. Like they would break down colorism, they'll break down the European standard of beauty. Like it was all just like kind of laid out to us, but like, you know, we were kids, so it's just like, okay, whatever. It started actually like affecting me. Like I feel like my confidence a little bit once I got to middle school and I started actually liking boys. I hung out with like a really gorgeous light-skinned mixed girl, and of course like every single guy wanted to like date her. She had like 18 boyfriends at once, and I was just like looking for one. So but you know, I like just kind of went with it. You know, you had your little like, oh, I don't date black girls. Like you had all that kind of stuff up until like high school, and even more so in high school. When I was in high school back in like the 2000, like 2005, 6, whatever year that was, Lil Wayne came out. And he had his little, like a long hair, thick red bone. And like, you know, everybody, even I have to admit, as a dark skinned girl, like I love me some Lil Wayne. Like, but you know, kids are impressionable. So like, they were really gruesome about it. Like they would make sure, like especially with my friend being so gorgeous, like I would get passed up all the time for these guys. Like growing up with the knowledge that I did, I understood where it came from, and I honestly didn't want to keep that company because of the fact that like, you know, they were doing stuff like that. Like, oh, I only talk to light skinned girls, I don't talk to black girls. Like I knew to be aware of those kind of guys. But either way, like it hurt. It did. I'm not gonna lie. And so from there, like there was even like a light-skinned girl only party in Denver, Colorado. Like I should have remembered the promoters' names, but that kind of crushed my spirits as well. Like it was $5 for dark-skinned girls, and light-skinned girls can get in for free. Fucked up. But yeah, I got to college, and I did start out my college years in Denver, Colorado. Eventually I moved to an HBCU, Norfolk State University. But I did start out there, and I had a professor that had us read Malcolm X's autobiography or something like that, and it broke down colorism and just like how the white man works and just like all that stuff to a T. And so I started understanding self-hate, like I really did, which brings me to my next point. I think self-love as a Black woman is so important, as a dark-skinned Black woman, because you have everybody against you from like age 3. Like I remember just growing up and just like almost in beauty contests with like my lighter toned cousin type vibe, like for what? We're kids, you know? But having my brown skin, woke parent on my side explaining like the mixtures of people, because like most of the time no one's gonna break down like, oh, she's light skinned, oh, she's mixed with this race, that race, but my mom would. And like she broke down like European beauty standards, like, but she told me that I was always beautiful. Like she installed that in me as a child. Like she made me pick out my favorite feature, and it was my lips. But like she made me pick it out, and she would just like compliment him all the time and just like, you know, tell me how beautiful I was, and like got me to the point where I was just like reading all the time. I was reading Maya Angelou, Phenomenal Woman. I was just like reading everything that could build self-confidence. I feel like it's a mental and a physical thing. So not only was I reading, I always made sure like I was always the best dressed out of me and my light-skinned friend, because of the fact that like I'll be able to weed out who's the colorist or not. Like being like dressed to impress, like to the best that I feel like I can be in the world. I knew that if a guy was just like preferring to speak to her and like whatever case was, like there's probably something wrong with him anyways. And being in the same town that I was like growing up in, most of those guys that prefer light-skinned girls, A, they're trying to talk to me now, or B, they are like bums anyways, or like with 18,000 baby moms, so it's like not a big deal. I dodged a bullet. But yeah, so self-love definitely needed. Today we can like Google dark-skinned Black women. We can do that, and like we can get on social media and like, you know, find people that look like us. Back then, me and my friend would watch music videos, and like I think there was like 2 music videos that I could actually relate to. That was the Pharrell video, Frontin', the dark-skinned main character, and that was Trey Songz and Twista. When I touch her, she's like, yeah. Those are the only 2 music videos I'm just like, yes, that's me, you know? But nowadays, I'm not sure how much music videos have changed. I don't watch them as much, but I know that you can actually find people that look like you. But if you can't, you just have to make sure you're straight. Like, you have to, I practice, like, looking in the mirror, call myself beautiful. I practiced making sure I ate right, I was fit and in shape, so that I know, like, you know, like, it's something I care about me. Like, my temple's protected. I practice keeping my circle small, because, like, I can't have just anyone in there with, like, radical, like, white supremacist, like, ideologies in my circle. So I got to weed that out, and I practiced that. And just like time to myself to reflect on my day and on like what actually is going on in the world and where I stand. So definitely pampered myself if no one else would, and just had to love myself internally and externally. So yeah, I think I answered the questions. I kind of rambled a little bit too, so regardless, I'm going to insert some pictures of myself, and I hope that I win. Otherwise, I just think it's such an amazing idea. And yeah, down with colorism. Thanks. Bye.
Let me hear that beat, man. That's the beatest beat.